It is 7:03. Welcome to the DeForest Park Neighborhood Association. This is our second live broadcast. It will be broadcast on Facebook, which we like to be transparent and open. We will be receiving a few things later on. We don't have the police report, so they will not be our first speakers tonight. And I don't see anybody from Rex's office as yet. So when they show up.
Dan, Jonathan is on. I'm looking at him right now. He's waving.
Okay, I can't see him. So, okay, Jonathan, you're up.
Great. All right, well, good evening, everybody. It's been a while since I've done a community report. But first and foremost, hoping you're all staying safe, hoping you're all staying healthy. And yeah, just to jump into this report, as you all know, or some of you might have known, the last 2 weeks have been really busy for the council office. We've hosted a variety of community events. And I mean, all of these conversations were just really productive. Anything from the ABC shelter to economic development, having the COVID-19 conversations with the African-American communities here in the city. So all of these conversations were just really essential in ways to not only reach out to the community, but also get input from them and just hear more about, things that are going on. More importantly, though, is just showing that the city is still, operating. We did have some setbacks, obviously, with with the COVID-19 and social distancing, but, we're slowly but surely just trying to get back up to speed. And, yeah, we're hoping more progress is able to be made in the coming months. So, yeah, for the time being, just some quick updates. If you've driven by our teacher lately, you've seen that there's been more progress made over at the Uptown Commons location. The Chase Bank is really close to opening. I don't believe we have a set date as of yet, but I mean, it looks like it'll be open any moment now. The Wendy's restaurant, they've also just really sped up their process with, creating the drive-through, the restaurant. So there's just a lot of progress being made there. Same with Houghton Park. Houghton Park is also being, it's also really close to opening up. So we're hoping that that also becomes an event where, we're able to do something with the community, bring community members, either bring some community members out or just do a live stream of the grand opening of the facility. We still don't know what that's going to look like with the social distancing regulations, but we're hoping to have some good news by then. And then that's all I have for now. So I don't know if there's any initial questions that folks might have.
I have a question. Jonathan, have you heard anything about the area on Atlantic and South near around there? How the development's going?
I have not heard anything on the development per se. I've only been working on keeping up with the maintenance of the lot. So it was actually resolved last week, where we finally were able to get folks to do some landscaping on it. But in terms of the actual timeline to get any development going, I am not aware of a timeline yet. But I'll be more than happy to follow up with our team and then just try to see if I can get some of that information over to you.
All right, thanks.
Sure. Any other questions?
Hey, Jonathan, I actually have a question. Who's responsible for the lot just north of the library?
That's also a lab property. So I've also been in communication with Mark Capro, I believe that's his name. He's the one that's in charge of the compost right there on that same block as the library. So he has reached out to me. A few residents have also reached out to our office, just in regards to the maintenance of that lot as well. So I told him I'd reach out to code enforcement. I'm reaching out to some of our team members to see what other options we can exercise. But yeah, we're looking into that lot as well.
Great, thank you. That was my comment. And the other thing too would be, I mean, I noticed that they did the maintenance, but it would be nice. I mean, I don't know if you can require this as far as a code thing, but it would be nice if they did not just like the bare minimum. Cause like I noticed, you know, they cut the grass, but there's like no edging. They didn't completely clean up all the trash, like things like that I noticed. And then the other thing was with that is that the fencing is broken. And so lots of the broken pieces are still in the lot. And so when you walk down Linden, you see tons of broken pieces of the fencing sitting in the lot. So I don't know, are they required to fix the fencing? I know that was originally the city's fencing, but
I can go ahead and ask to see whose responsibility that is, but yeah, I can follow up with you on that.
Great. And then the last comment would be there is some licenses for a cannabis facility on South Street, but the addresses are 301 to 315 East South Street. There's like a liquor store and there was a previous laundromat. The properties just sat vacant, and so now the weeds and stuff in the front are overgrown. There's trash, so that needs to be addressed.
Okay, I'll be sure to reach out to code enforcement for that.
Okay, thank you.
So Pat, your question about South and Atlantic, just to let you know that the lab is pulling all their permits. They're getting their stuff aligned, and probably just after the Commons, which is over on Harding and Atlantic, they will be starting to come online. I just found that out last night, so this is kind of brand new. So that's where we are at the moment. Okay.
Cool.
Just for clarification, the Uptown Commons is the one on Atlantic and Artesia. The one on Atlantic and Harding is just the Uptown.
Oh well,
it's a little confusing. Yeah.
Up there too.
It's I mean, it's a very easy mistake. It's all good.
So Rex just wrote on Facebook, report it to 562570 code.
Oh, cool. Good.
Okay, just to let you guys know, my partner here, Mike, this is Mike. Hello.
Hello.
We live right near the DeForest wetlands. And what we're going to do is talk to Councilman Richardson about having an event where we get together and pick up trash and generally try to clean up the area. We've been doing a lot of that ourselves.
And we've seen a couple people do this also. And I believe there's a city employee I saw the other day that is goes around doing some of that, but I think it's too big for him to catch everything.
Yeah,
Well,
so we're picking up trash, and we're gonna talk to Rex Richardson about it, and also getting signs and more trash cans in that area.
Oh my goodness.
Because
Okay, I'm just chuckling. We've been talking about this since day one. I'm glad that we've got some other people that are picking up over there. We started when the wetlands opened. We backed off because the Conservation Corps is supposed to be helping over there too. So that's good. I'm glad there's somebody else that stepped up because you're right there. That's
Rex,
great. Thank you so much.
Rex
Yeah,
just
the other thing is, I was looking at, are they not, get out and leave.
no parking.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
I noticed with the recent rains, the pond there on the wetlands filled up a little bit more from drain off from the storm drain that empties right there.
Storm drain is not where you think it comes from. Storm drain comes from the 105 freeway because that was built lower than the aquifer over there. So it's pumped all the way through, and it lands in DeForest Park. Supposed to be another pump within DeForest Park to move it down to Del Amo. Sometimes it's clogged, sometimes it isn't, but the Conservation Corps, like is supposed to be there. So this is something that maybe Jonathan can take up and have a little chat with them.
Well, it also is related to the trash we see, that storm drain dumps a lot of trash, and there's no grading or filter or, fence to like catch that when it comes out.
Oh, you mean into the pond? Yeah, there's nothing there. You're right. Is it still, I haven't been down there in a few weeks, so is it still algaed over?
It will be dried up pretty soon when the winter or when the summer comes. And then we can actually get the stuff out of there. But in the meantime, we were even talking about getting like pool, what do they call it? Filters, nets, to try to get some of the stuff out of the pond area. But it's actually quite good, but I think we need more flowers. I think it needs to be a little prettier, but it's doing okay. A lot of people use it.
So I did want to bring up, because we are doing Facebook Live and it's on about a 10 to 15 second delay, and Rex has posted again earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt. He said that you had a great idea and that we should form a Friends of the DeForest Wetlands group.
Sounds like a great idea. I would very much encourage that.
But I would like to, Jonathan, when you talk to Rex, see about whether the Corps of Engineers can put up there's a fence around the drainage, but to keep people from falling in. But there's no fence or anything that would catch trash that comes out of that. So that just feeds right into the pond. And it would be nice if we had some way of catching a good portion of that trash.
So we have another comment.
Skimmer.
We have another
river
comment.
skimmer.
Sorry.
Say what, Cindy?
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's a possibility, because they used to use river skimmers on the LA River when it gets really high. So the possibility, they're available through the port. I'm just wondering how we go about getting them.
So Robert Fox just commented on Facebook, storm drains are an issue citywide. I think we should make a catchment for them all. Would you like a catchment for this park? Opinions. Those are two questions he posed.
Yep. Absolutely.
Especially for the wetlands, because a lot of trash gets into that pond, and there's ducks and baby ducks and turtles and rabbits. It's an active area.
I'd also like to add, so I've actually, so on our previous meeting, we had a representative from the Conservation Corps who's doing the park maintenance. And so they told me that we're supposed to, you can use the Go Long Beach app and the park maintenance portion to report things in the park. And so and inside the wetlands, which I've done. And so they've repaired some things. I will admit though, so one of the things I reported was the need for additional trash cans. And then I also reported the fact that there was trash in the water, and I made the recommendation. I was like, hey, now that the water is low, this would be a great opportunity to go in and go ahead and clean it out, because there's no water in a lot of portions. And the response I got from the Go Long Beach app was, unfortunately at this time, the items reported is not one of the topics currently being processed by the Go Long Beach program. Please contact Los Angeles County Flood Control District, part of the LA County Public Works. And he said they do offer a form and you can submit your issue. So I think maybe and Jonathan is maybe directed towards you and Councilmember Richardson. There appears to be like a little bit of a disconnect as to what the city is responsible for and then what LA County is responsible for. So we can get clarification, I think, as a neighborhood as to who we're supposed to be contacting, who's responsible for what the Conservation Corps' contract includes. I think that would help us alleviate a lot of the issues we're talking about related to the wetlands.
Yeah, the guy that I spoke to a couple of days ago that was picking up trash along with me on the backside trail, he said that there was a plan for the corps, the conservation, to when the lake was the pond was lower, to clean that out and take down some extra brush or reeds or something. I'm not sure what their plan is, and that was what he said there was, but I don't know if in fact that there's going to be a maintenance later on this summer when things dry up more.
I would still say, though, report it to the Go Long Beach app, even if they're closing it. So at least it goes on record somewhere and there's a way to track this, because every item in the Go Long Beach app does get a serial number. So even if they close it out, it does exist in a database. So like Joni, you said, if there is a disconnect, at least there could be a repository of all these reports
Right.
somewhere. So we don't want to discourage people from using the Go Long Beach app, even though they're saying it's not part of it. And I think really this is Councilmember Richardson's office and whomever's going to lead District 8, because it goes into District 8 as well,
Yeah.
to work on this.
Yeah, so I would encourage folks to any Go Long Beach item, whether it's DeForest Park or just any issue you may come across. If you would like help with expediting it, send me the service request number, and I'll go ahead and send that to the appropriate departments as well, just so that we continue, blowing up the item and getting it to the folks. So as soon as you reported, copy and paste the service request number, send it over to me. I believe most of you have my email already. If not, I'd be more than happy to add it here in the chat for your reference. And
Okay.
so just let me know. But
Yeah.
I'll look into it.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to keep reading Facebook comments as we go so that there is an interaction. Robert Fox also wrote, trash cans are great, but the city is charging 4th Street tens of thousands for those cement ones. Can we get a partnership with the city so the neighborhood can purchase trash cans and place them? And he says he will donate to that.
Okay, well, here's the answer to that. The neighborhood leadership program is still active. As long as we can get the hours for the people to volunteer and certain things along those lines, we can write a grant for that. And they've done it over in Wilmore. They've done it all across the city, Rose Park, which is close to where Robert lives. Should not be a problem for us to try and do that. Unfortunately, that grant cycle has changed. So Jonathan, what we probably need to do is contact the rivers and mountains and streams. They got the first trash can. Maybe we can get a couple more. That's one way of doing that. That's 2 alternatives. So we can try both.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Also,
We have any other questions?
the website says about the DeForest wetlands that it has educational opportunities. I haven't seen any tours, any educational opportunities. I thought it was going to be a lot more along the lines of the El Dorado Park Nature Center, and actually have a building there and some people who actually know what the wildlife is, but that has not come to pass. So just a comment.
Just to
That does not exist.
Oh, just to kind of answer your question there, Pat. So we've been going through a park planning process with the city of Long Beach that's in along with the Conservation Corps and Campfire USA. And that is the plan. And there actually has been some discussion, or not some discussion, but the Conservation Corps actually wanted to have a facility right there at the entrance to the wetlands. They wanted to have like a little building, basically like an outpost for them for maintenance, but also like a kind of like a welcome. But we're having to imagine that or rediscuss how we're going to do that, because that area has a gas pipeline underneath it. So we actually can't put a physical structure there. But in the future, that is actually the plan, that they want to be able to have like a little welcome center there. And then the idea that in conjunction with Conservation Corps and Campfire, that there would be education associated with the wetlands, tours, things like that. That just hasn't materialized, and it's taking longer because of some of the topography and other related issues with the park.
Well, what we could do is we could actually have docents who actually are trained in the local plants and wildlife, and we could set up based out of the DeForest Park area thing, the meeting thing at the other end in the park. We could have tours in through there with docents.
Well, Pat,
in
it
the
sounds
meantime.
like I have a person volunteering to be our committee,
I
to
could
head
be
up
a
our committee.
docent. I don't know about the committee.
Well, you know what?
But
If yourself and you know anyone else who'd be willing to be a docent, I mean, the neighborhood association could help organize that. But if you know people who are willing to be docents, then we could maybe organize something, maybe like a second Saturday of the month or something like that. Maybe we have a couple of people volunteer and do tours. But yeah, if you would be willing to, yourself, and maybe identify a few other people who would be willing to do that, that would be great. Oh,
Well,
now we have two.
I'd have to have somebody who to train me, because I'm not a scientist. I'm a computer specialist, retired computer person. But
let me talk to you about being a docent. A docent is just a person. If you can teach a computer class the basics, you can be a docent very easily. It's doing a little bit of the research. We can probably go to Parks and Rec and pull up the plants that are located where they are. I know there's some small signs inside the wetlands still. What we need to do is probably get Parks and Rec a little bit more on board, but they've just changed over this COVID deal. They've just changed their the person that's in charge. So that's kind of slowing things too. So if we can dig out the information, it's just a matter of setting up a time, a set time, and just walking through the wetlands. That's basically what it is. And the idea of having a little bit of the history, that the Pavungas were there and all of that rolled into it, and doing a little bit of scripting. It shouldn't be too hard. Usually most of the docent tours that I'm familiar with, either at the Rancho is about an hour and a half. The downtown walking tour runs about an hour and 45 minutes. The first part. The second part runs about an hour. So you're talking about an hour on one Saturday with probably 4 or 5 people. You can use it to raise funds, small funds, and walk through, and that money goes into DeForest Park. Since we're a 501c3, that money would be tax deductible for you, and you could learn about the wetlands. And then I would think that we would want to talk to the 8th district side and see if they want to connect the second part to this, which would be the Mingus Gap, and that would really be nice. So those are a couple of things that, this has been batted around a little while, so it's not unusual to hear it, but we would love to have you. So
we can grab a committee together. We can't do it ourselves. I'm too busy with other things, but we can grab a committee together, and anybody who wants to join us.
That would be fantastic. If you're available, our exec board meetings will be the Tuesday after this. So I forget what date that is. Tuesday. Anybody know what next Tuesday is? Tuesday the 26th. At 6:30 is our, and it'll be the same thing. It'll be a Zoom meeting, and we could discuss it further, and we could talk about putting together a committee of some folks in the neighborhood who would be interested in doing that, and that would be great.
We'd like that. Jonathan, you mentioned about an app, Long Beach app, that you could put in a request. I'm not familiar with that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's called the Go Long Beach app. Essentially, you download it on your phone, and if you're ever taking a stroll in your neighborhood or just anywhere, and you see something that you'd like to be addressed by the various city departments, you can basically just go ahead, take a picture of the item, and because the application already tracks your GPS location, you don't even have to report where exactly you are.
Okay.
And it just it goes ahead and submits that request for you to the appropriate city departments.
It's under Long Beach. What?
It's
Long
called
Beach.
Go Long Beach.
Go Long Beach. Okay.
Go Long Beach, and you can get it off the App Store.
Okay, I'll do that.
Mhm.
The other thing was, like, I know that there's still who handles what for the wetlands, but there's that one. If anybody's been out there, you've seen that somebody tried to burn down part of the railing for the stairway going
into the wetlands. Yeah,
and that needs repair. I just don't know who handles that.
That's park maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I can go ahead and submit that.
So we can go ahead and put it in the app. Okay.
Most
You
definitely.
can go ahead and do the Go Long Beach app, but Jonathan is still online, so he's got it written down somewhere.
Yeah,
And we can move it
yeah,
forward.
if you, from the north end here, if you take a walk on the wooden walkway, about
Yes.
2/3, 3/4 down, there's a little stairway that exits and goes to the path
To
that
the
goes
both side
along
of the
the
pond.
berm. Well, there's someone, looks like they put some kind of a accelerant and burnt a corner post and part of the railing there.
Okay.
And I mean, literally, it's a big hole about that big
Wow.
where it was all burnt up, and it needs
Yeah,
repair.
I'll go ahead and submit that. That sounds
Okay.
like a very, it sounds like something we definitely want to address. So I'll go ahead and submit that request. Thank you.
So
And I think
Dan
that
and Joni and Jonathan and whoever needs it, we'll have to stay after all this and give you our contact information.
fabulous. And
Okay.
just so you all know, Jonathan also put in the chat, he put his email address as well. If you want to follow up with him more
Right.
regarding this, but we should
Cool.
we should probably move along to our
Right.
to our main
Yeah, we should
to our
move along
main
to,
event.
Yeah,
to
right.
to the assembly member. There's one other thing, Pat. Sorry, Joni. Also, you need to sign up for Inside Long Beach, Inside District 9 rather. And
I
that'll
think
also.
I am. I think I am.
Okay, good.
I've been
That's
getting
good.
all the bulletins out of Rex Richardson. Yeah, I've gotten all of them. Actually met with him personally recently.
Oh, good, good.
And for those of you who aren't signed up on the District 9 newsletter, I'll go ahead and also add it to the chat for those of you who would want to sign up. So
Thanks, John.
And since we're going to be moving on to the assemblyman, I will probably be muting everyone so he can speak as well, and because we are
Okay.
broadcasting live.
Okie doke.
I think he disappeared for a moment.
I'll get him back. Give me one
Thank
second.
you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Greetings.
Thanks.
Hello.
Well, I trust that everyone is being safe and healthy in the midst of this pandemic virus. I want to say thank you very much again for allowing me to come and just say a few words. I will have to make my comments very brief. Many of you know that we are faced with a $54 billion shortfall in our state budget. Not only that, but the governor released his May revise. And within his May revise, 80% of the funding that goes to Martin Luther King Community Hospital is on the chopping block to be cut. And I don't need to tell anyone on this line that if 80% of a new hospital that goes to provide services for a poor community like in Watts, where I was born and raised, are in fact cut like that 80%, that hospital closes and people lose lives. And so I have a call shortly in the next 15 minutes with the governor's office to talk about where he needs to find some more money and not cut this hospital. And so we are working very feverishly to ensure that the residents that depend on that hospital, that hospital remains, a beacon light in that community. So again, I appreciate the opportunity. I listened to the dialogue, and it was a very robust conversation. But I want to bring you up to date on some of my activities. It's been a long time since we had the opportunity to actually meet. Many of you know that in California, over 78,000, almost 80,000 cases of individuals in California are tested positive for COVID-19. 3,261, we have lost family members in the state of California. That's what that number represents. In Los Angeles County, almost 40,000 cases of positive individuals carrying COVID-19. And in the county, 1,839 people have lost their lives. And I would simply say One, if not two of those numbers are personal friends of mine. And I also lost a cousin in Texas a month ago due to COVID-19. And so in my district, 1,687 people have tested positive for COVID-19. We still don't have a lot to celebrate, even though the curve is flattening. We still have a lot to do in order to making sure that it continue to flatten. You know, the governor has already talked about going to phase 2, opening up California, and we support that because many of you, like myself, have seen 4 walls. We've just been locked in, and it's time for us to get out. But we don't want to get out, and we don't want to be foolish to get out by increasing the curve or having the curve spike up again and people lose their lives. And so we are very focused when it comes down to that. I want to also talk about, you know, I left from Sacramento the last week in February. We recessed the legislature to go back to our district. So about 2 months, I only came back up here on May the 4th. And we started business, but prior to us leaving, we authorized the governor to spend up to $1 billion. And many of you know that he has bought and purchased St. Vincent's Hospital that was closed. And now that hospital is open and is staffed with nurses and doctors to handle the overflow of those who are not only test positive, but those who need serious medical attention here in Los Angeles County. And you know, the governor has also bought motels and hotels to put people in. And so the governor has done a yeoman's job. I have friends all across the United States. They are not listening to their governor, but what they are doing is tuning in at 12 o'clock daily and listening to the words of our governor and following that by sheltering in place, by making sure that social and physical distancing in fact takes place. These also that they're making sure they don't go out and act like, you know, we're normal is before them. And so we honor and support this governor for taking a courageous stance as an example for other governors in the state of California. We are in a battle. We are in an absolute battle right now with the White House. The White House is playing games with people's lives. We have, and we're on calls. I'll be on a call tomorrow with our United States Senator Dianne Feinstein and also Kamala Harris, because we need to make sure that other senators that serve with them support the $1 trillion that California needs in order to make up the deficit. We've spent out a lot of money in advance in hopes that we would get that money back, and that will help with our budget shortfall. Again, $54 billion. The governor's trying to, as well as the legislature, trying our best to balance this year's budget. You know that the governor's already said he's doing state employees 10% across the board. So 10% pay cut people who are state employees, and he's cutting services. I asked for this year's budget over $723 million for my district, and that's gone. I can't ask for it. They're not going to even entertain what I was asking for. But it's also indicative of my other colleagues as well. Everybody's fighting for money for their own districts as well. And so we are trying to make sure that we work with the governor. The governor feels that he's running this state by himself, and we've had to pull his coattail. We are going to next week have a committee of the whole. This committee of the whole has not been formed since the Willie Brown days. And so what this means is that every member will gather. The chair of the Budget Assembly will convene. We will be locked in for hours upon hours in order to work out and hammer out issues as it relates to the budget. Believe me, I'll have my boxing gloves on because I want to make sure the cuts really doesn't affect the core people who cannot fend for themselves. And that's the most vulnerable among us here in California. And so the governor has passed a number of executive orders. One of the things we're fighting for is making sure it's top of our list is money around mental health. There's a lot of people who are suffering from mental health, especially our homeless brothers and sisters, but not only those individuals, but also those who are in prison. You know that Channel Island, not too far from right there in Long Beach, there's the highest outbreak of COVID-19 in the United States right there, and people are tested positive. That's not within our jurisdiction. We have no authority in there, but we're certainly trying to call upon our federal delegation to act swiftly to get resources in there and even to move people out that have not committed serious crimes so that they won't be able to be exposed. Some prisons are actually having morgues. They're building tents so they can take bodies in those and place those bodies in those tents. And those are particular inmates in our jail and also in our prison. And so we're fighting when it comes down to that. Not only of that, but many of you know, as you know, your kids may be on your nerves, your loved ones, your significant others. Well, we have people who are with their abusers. Those are individuals who have been suffering from domestic violence, who are still with their assailant. We're trying to make sure those individuals are taken out of those homes and placed in a safe space so they don't have to be abused by their domestic partner or individual in their particular home. And so we have called on our United States senators and our delegation to help provide resources to move those people out of those identified locations because of the stay-at-home order. In addition to that, I'm happy to I wrote a letter to the governor asking for his executive order to be extended to place a moratorium on eviction of commercial properties. I don't need to tell anyone on this call that people who are small businesses are now facing being evicted because they are in fact behind on their lease, their rent, and things of that nature. So we asked the governor to put a moratorium on that, and we're following that piece up with some legislation. My colleagues are in fact moving legislation to address that in a more systematic way and making it a permanent piece of legislation as we move and deal with COVID-19. I know many of you had questions around EDD. Let me tell you something, I am very disappointed. I was on the call on Tuesday with the Secretary of Labor, Ms. Sue, and the Director of EDD, who directs the EDD department. We gave them questions in advance. I was not happy with any of the questions, and I directed them to come back next week with some more sufficient answers to our questions. In addition to that, when people call our offices, my offices, who haven't gotten their unemployment checks and other resources and other benefits, we've had to wait 2 to 3 weeks to even a month to get a response back from EDD. That is absolutely unacceptable. We are lawmakers and we deserve to make sure that when we make a phone call, that those calls go answered. And so we are also, I'm calling for a hearing to have the EDD director and the Secretary of Labor to come before our House to answer our questions, because this is absolutely unacceptable. But she committed that she will provide comprehensive questions or answers to our questions by next week. And so if you and know loved ones and things of that nature who are having problems with their unemployment benefits, please reach out to our office, because I think I've made enough headway and put her on notice that she needs to respond. And so we would certainly ask you to give us another opportunity to resolve some of these outstanding cases and trying to get checks and hands to people who absolutely desperately need it. And our job is to provide hope and not an excuse and not a barrier. And so we're making sure that that in fact takes place and also happen. Many of you may or may not know that since we've been home since February, I have had a number of teleconferences, town hall meetings, whether it's small businesses. I've met with small businesses in my district. I've met with chambers of commerce throughout my entire district. In addition to that, I've also had Dr. Sheila Young, who is a doctor who runs Charles University Medicine and Science. She's an infectious disease specialist to answer questions that anyone may have. I should have had her come here, so you may ask her any questions that you can't ask from your own doctor or get the answers from TV or radio. Then we had our own doctor that can give and fulfill those kinds of questions. And so I've met with pastors. I've met with school board members, city council members, and also mayors to try to not only empower them, but also provide them with knowledge. I have attended numerous of city council meetings virtually, as well as school board meetings virtually, to try to make sure that people understand what I'm doing and the resources that's being made available on a state level. We have also been engaged in making sure that our clinics have face shields. I've delivered over 100 face shields to Watts Health Clinic and also St. John over in Compton. We'll also be delivering over 150 gowns for our healthcare professionals who are putting on the line day in and day out to making sure that they are also protected as well. We've also authored a piece of legislation that will place a moratorium on evictions of people behind on their house notes. Again, this is not a time that we put people out to drive the already 60,000 people who are homeless in this state, further increase those numbers by evictions and foreclosures. And so we have a piece of legislation, AB 828, that would place a moratorium on any residential evictions in this state. And then it gives the judge the authority to create a new payment plan that individuals can hopefully meet and also stay in their homes, but also still pay their back owed on their house note. And so again, we are working in a very comprehensive way to try to make sure that we as government are there for the people who which we serve. And so let me end there to address any of your questions while I have a few moments at this time.
Hi, Assembly Member. We've got a few questions from social media, 2 questions actually, from Robert Fox. The first one is, many of us believe we are heading into a severe depression. Are you crafting a permanent plan to reduce our California staff or something? Have you seen any financial real projections for the next 5 years from the state as to what we are heading into? That was his first question. And then he followed up to your response about moratoriums. How do we put a moratorium on mortgage lenders who exist nationwide?
Well, let me answer that one first. When we talk about nationwide, we only govern the state of California. So whatever we do is strictly for the state of California. Nationwide, that's a member of Congress. That's their job. That's their responsibility. Your first question, the governor has in fact put a task force comprised of a number of millionaires and billionaires who live in the state of California to put up a plan to talk about, one, how do we continue to be the 5th largest economy in the United States of America. And so also making sure that we don't create policies that further disenfranchise and set California back. And so he has a plan. Remember also, well, you don't know this, or you may do, over 4.1 million people in the state of California applied for unemployment benefits. That means 4.1 million people have no jobs. And so we're trying to making sure that as we open up this state, that we are in fact trying to put people to work and making sure that there's legislation that doesn't further disenfranchise. So one, we're trying to maintain the legislation that my very aggressive colleagues put forth that has severe, real serious consequences as it relates to the job market in California. And then 2, looking at the governor who's working with businesses to try to making sure that we don't slip into a recession here in the state of California. But that also means opening up our ports so that China and other parts of the world can continue to import, export those vital goods here to California in our ports around California, like Long Beach and Los Angeles. So we're making sure that those, and also work with the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, as well as Mayor Garcia, to making sure that we can open up the ports and we can continue to have goods movement back and forth through all of our ports. Remember, our ports are the most busiest ports in the country. And when we hurt, the rest of the country hurt as well. And so we're trying to alleviate that kind of pain moving forward. So hopefully that answers your question.
There's no other questions on social media, so if there is anyone in the Zoom meeting who would like to ask questions.
I got about 3 to 5 minutes, so I'm good.
Oh, Assembly Member, I have a question. This is Joni. Can
Hey,
you
Joni.
expound a little bit? How are you?
Good, thanks.
Can you expound a little bit? I think it was on AB 828 regarding the moratorium on like evictions as related to mortgages. I mean, I think that's the biggest kind of issue that a lot of people are having, especially as we're putting moratoriums on rent.
then landlords, etc. People are really concerned about their mortgages, forbearances, all of that kind of stuff.
Right. So my bill, our bill, is the author is Phil Ting out of San Francisco, along with myself, and also Os Collar, who hails from San Jose. With this bill, again, it's a moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. So if you are in your home and COVID-19 is a reason why you can no longer pay your rent and or your mortgage, and your companies are talking about evictions and foreclosures, this bill will basically say you can't do it. And it also gives the judge the authority to restructure a payment plan outside of what you already owe and pay. And so this will go in effect for a particular period of time, as long as COVID-19 still exists in the state of California and still is relevant. Did I answer your question, Joe?
It did. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Mike Witter. Kind of a follow-up on that.
Yes, go right ahead.
It just seems like if you have this many people that are in arrears on their mortgages, having a judge step in is going to be a bottleneck. I'm not sure that's a workable solution.
Okay, so what do you suggest?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure about the legalities of it, but it seems to me that if for some reason you miss 6 months of payments because you're out of work and all of that, if that was just thrown out at the back end of the loan and you end up paying more interest because your loan extended 6 months off your 25 years left or something, everybody wins. It means that you delay what interest you're paying.
Sure.
And rather than making someone force them to I got to make up 6 months of payments and I just got a job, there's no way you're going to do that.
Well, that's why a judge that's a great suggestion, and I will, that's the art of negotiations. And when this bill moves forward, I would also speak to the author about looking at that as a suggestion. However, when you, a judge, again, if you can't pay the mortgage because you are out of work and or laid off as a result of COVID-19, the judge will have the authority through this legislation to restructure whatever loan you have with whatever financial institution, okay? The main thing is you will stay in your home and not be thrown out on the streets. And so this, I would say, brings great animosity and great hardship to the entire mortgage world. But we believe this is the right thing to do. In addition to that, again, this is not permanent because we don't think that COVID-19 is permanent. This is only as long as the governor has his executive order in place and the legislation does in fact have an expiration. So you no longer need this expiration if COVID-19 is not an issue moving forward here in the state of California. But that's a good suggestion. Put it on the back end like you do on a car note.
May I
Right, I have a question.
At the risk of sounding like I'm sucking up to you, thank you so much for your efforts on our behalf. I do so appreciate it.
Well, you're not, and thank you very much for saying that. I really appreciate it. This has rocked everyone's world. Our normal is no longer normal. And so we have to think out of the box and do things that we normally wouldn't do in order to preserve people's lives and their way of life. And so that's our motivation, and that's the goal and objective here. So thank you.
Question. When
Yes.
they're doing the forbearance for people for their mortgages and what have you, can they be more specific? Because most people don't realize the forbearance after it's over becomes a balloon payment. They think that those funds are being put on the back end of the loan, and they aren't.
Good point. Absolutely good point. And I will, we have it written down, my team, and we will try to get back with you, Darlene, with an answer to that question or use as a suggestion with the author of the bill. Listen, let me conclude, say thank you very much for giving me such great livery of your time. I appreciate it. We hope and pray that everyone will stay safe, stay healthy, do what the experts from California say do. Don't listen to what they say in Washington, D.C., what's coming out of Washington, D.C., but we need to remain safe. We need to make sure that we provide physical distancing in order to get over this. And I believe together we will get over this, but it's going to take all of us working together. So thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you guys. You guys have been great.
Thank you, Assembly Member.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So do we have any other questions? Any other comments for the good of the order?
I don't know if Megan Kirsch, I see she's online. I don't know if there's a Long Beach Unified update.
You want to unmute her and ask?
I can unmute her, but I don't know if she wants to or not.
Well, let's ask her.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
And
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I haven't prepared a formal update. I will say that the Long Beach Post hosted one of their chats today with Superintendent Steinhauser and incoming Superintendent Jill Baker, which was really informative. It's a quick half hour with a lot of good information. Not a ton of answers, but some of the possibilities of what reopening could look like for Long Beach Unified students. Our robust summer program, it just kind of fills you in on what staff has been doing. I think what's important for folks to remember is we had to create this online platform, this distance learning platform in a week for our students. So it was a huge pivot. But because we know that there is the potential for a hybrid kind of learning next year, a ton of planning has been going into that. So it won't look the same. I think the difference that I would hope people can remember is we are diligently planning every day for what reopening could look like. And that's a very different situation than in March when we had to close our doors very suddenly and figure it out from there. So I want to assure people that the district is working hard every single day to create what school will look like and how it will resemble what we knew to be school, but not exactly the same. So I encourage you to check out that video. It's posted on the Long Beach Post Facebook page. Like I said, it's a quick half hour with the two superintendents with some really good information. We will transition at some point. I don't know if we have the information out yet from after the school year closes, which is not for us until June, I want to say 15th or 16th. So we are still in, or maybe it's the week before that. We're still in school for a few more weeks. Even though there's lots of graduations happening, we are still in school. And after that, we will transition the meal program from the school site-based meal programs to the summer meal programs that are at city park sites like we normally do. It will still be us providing the meals, and it might look a little different from next year, but that transition will happen after the school year closes. So look for announcements around times and sites for meals for students and families.
Megan,
I think that's, yeah, go ahead.
It's Ryan. I have a question, and I know about this because I have foster children. The pandemic in EBT as well. Do you know how they're receiving that from your applications, or how's the state handling that to send out the EBT cards to those kids receiving reduced or free meals? I think it's up to $365 per child per month.
Right. I don't, but I will ask our nutrition services folks to see if we have put out some helpful hints or some information on how students are going to access that. But I know our nutrition services has been really active in lobbying for as much coverage as possible. So I will take a look when I get home or tomorrow morning and see if I can send something to you. Our nutrition services has a great Instagram feed where they put a ton of information every day, and I do remember seeing them highlighting that, but I don't know if we've put out guidelines specific for our
I think the cards are supposed to be arriving between last week and this week. I haven't received ours yet, but I didn't know how that was working.
Okay, I can follow up and see if I can get more info for you.
Perfect.
Any
Joni,
other questions?
there were a couple of questions from Facebook. I thought Joni may be able to answer this, or Dan. So Lily Nunez has asked, what is the plan for DeForest Park? And then any results from the survey that was posted?
TBD, I spoke to the folks who are gathering all the information from City Fabric. And the plan was to have them, actually, they were planning to present something to the Parks and Recreation Commission this month. However, that has changed because a lot of the Parks and Recreation staff have now been pulled over to the health department to assist with the coronavirus response. And so that has been postponed. So it is to be determined. So it's, I will follow up. So they asked me to follow up at the end of this week. So I'll follow up and determine what the next steps are. Most likely we'll just have them come back and give us an update at a future meeting because I know that the data collection is ongoing.
Okay, next question, Ryan.
That's all we have on social media right now.
Okay, any other
Richardson?
Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the DeForest planning meeting regarding the park, which is right here. Is there some way of getting the minutes to that meeting?
We do not, I don't think that we were able to take minutes at the last meeting. However, Pat, did you fill out the survey that is associated with the park planning? They have a couple of visions related to the elements that we want in the park. Do you have the link to that?
I'm not exactly sure that I did.
Okay, well, you put your contact information in the chat and I copied it. So when we talk to you about the wetlands and the docents, I'll send you that link too, so that you and your husband can both fill that out.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else?
Actually, I do have one more update that is germane to this group, if that's okay.
Sure.
So we did our administrative assignments a little early this year. It's what happens when we have folks in administrative positions, either assistant principals or principals who retire or get promoted. And so while I am thrilled for an opportunity for her for something else, I am sad to report that Ronnie Coleman will be leaving Jordan at the end of this year and resuming the principal. She'll be taking the principalship at Sato High School, which is on the other side of town. So I will miss her greatly, but I hear wonderful things about Keisha Irving, who is currently an assistant principal at Milliken and has been an assistant principal for a while and at a couple different schools, is being promoted to the principal at Jordan High School. So we will try to arrange some kind of introduction or meeting at some point in the future once they get settled in their new role.
So let me ask you a question, Megan. Would it be possible to have her talk to us maybe next meeting in June?
I would think that that's probably not possible. It is a year-round position, so she will be working throughout the summer. But I think as of the next meeting, she'll still be finishing her duties at Milliken and probably wouldn't have even had time to come over to the school yet, is my understanding. So next month is probably not feasible, but hopefully maybe over the summer.
Yeah, maybe July. Okay, sounds good. Do we, one other thing, we do have the councilman online. He is logged in. Do you have any questions for Councilman Richardson?
Rex, your audio's not coming through.
Well, I can hear his kids.
No, he's on mute.
No, that's ours.
Oh, well, I know the CEO is trying to get the staff.
We can
back
hear you
together.
now, Rex.
Hear me now? Great.
Yeah,
I
we got
caught
you.
the first part of I caught the first part of the meeting on Facebook. So great that you stream on Facebook. Then I have to leave, and then I wanted to come kind of join and catch the end. I love what you guys are doing. This is incredible. Hey, just wanted to come by. I saw that you had some updates from Jonathan. Some couple cool things coming up. We're next Monday, so a week from Memorial Day. You probably heard about it. We're going to do another food distribution. Jordan High School. This is not going to be as large as the last one. So we're working with this time. We're working with Alpha Phi Alpha, my fraternity, and Long Beach Community Action Partnership, and the OC Regional Food Bank. Last time was LA. So it'll be smaller and RSVP only. So we have a certain amount of slots. We can support 1,000 families. And so we're going to be working through the neighborhood associations to help get some of the RCPs out, as well as neighborhood organizations, to make sure that sort of is targeted into the 90805 area. So we're going to need you in the next week to help us all collect names of people who need support. And it'll be the same format as it was last time, just a little bit smaller. Also, it's been sort of like an unprecedented effort going on around basic needs in the city. If you notice, like over the last couple of years, you see more and more activity around housing security, from more shelter capacity than we've ever seen right now, with 4 shelters in the city. That's unheard of. It's never happened before. And you've seen more activity around food. Well, that's because those are basic needs. And if you look at college campuses, Joni could probably tell you about this. A lot of college campuses already have basic needs offices or basic needs teams set up where you make a phone call or you visit an office because you're hungry or you don't have somewhere to sleep, and they help you. And now local government, due to this crisis, we've already been sort of leading this direction, but now it's time that we kind of make a bigger commitment to just meeting basic needs. And when you think basic needs, what are the things you need to live? You need water, you need air, you need sleep, you need shelter, and you need food. Some would say clothing as well, right? Southern California, maybe not. But, those are basic needs. And so 2 of those things are really insecure, housing and food. And so City Council is going to be taking some action at our next council meeting, and first council meeting in June, to create a basic needs strategy that does certain things, like has a one hotline number, a one number. If you are food insecure or housing, one number to get you what you need, right? And a data dashboard and other things that really just kind of quantify the need and our ability, not just within the city, but all the community groups associated with food security. Like, how do we quantify the need and the capacity to meet the need, so we really understand that gap? That's just a couple cool updates for you. But I just want to jump in and say hi. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy. But if not, it's great to see all your great, beautiful faces.
Oh, my fat
Hey, Rex, I think you heard our conversation regarding the DeForest Wetlands group that we
I caught that together before I jumped off. Yeah, I caught that before I jumped off.
And that we'd like to have an event that would help with cleanup. Mike and I are cleaning up, and good to see you again, by the way. And appreciate all your work. The question is,
appreciate you.
The question is first of all, I have limited mobility, but do you need any help at the Jordan Food Bank event?
Yeah, let me check. This one, so this was sort of Long Beach Community Action Partnership is getting some volunteers. I'm sure we need volunteers. And my fraternity brothers, Alpha Phi Alpha, are bringing out the whole district to do it as sort of an initiative. So I think it's going to be pretty fun. Last time we were all very safe. We wore our protective equipment, our masks, our gloves. Our school board member, Megan Kerr, came by. She hung out with me. We put them in trunks. And I'm a social person. It's hard, social distancing, man. So I take these opportunities to go help people. I know we keep our distance. And I just know personally it's difficult for me. I do have to say, I've seen some real composure through this. Businesses have been struggling and all that stuff. And I've checked in with some today. They really, the residents and the businesses in our neighborhood in particular, they've been doing really, really well. I've heard some really crazy stories in other parts of town, other communities, of people completely losing it, putting a lot of pressure on folks to make this decision, make that decision. But folks have maintained their cool in North Long Beach, and I can see it. So I can see it from a macro sense. So thank you to everybody who's been doing that. But yeah, we can probably use some volunteers. But let me just get the details for you, Pat, so we can point you in the right direction.
Well, do post it on your in one of your newsletters for volunteers. Make a call out for volunteers, and you may be hearing from me.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Cool.
Okay, anyone else?
I was going to bring up that we do have a new website that's going to be launching soon, and I was just going to give a little sneak peek of it. So bear with me a moment as I go into share mode. So this is going to be our new website. It may have a few more changes. It is a little different than what we had before. The great thing is it's a lot cleaner. It's got a lot of multimedia images, some videos that we can play, our partners here. And the cool thing is we can now donate through here. You can get your own receipt once it goes through PayPal, and you'll have a dashboard where you can log in, make future donations, and also see what past receipts are. You can print out your receipts for tax purposes. So be on the lookout for our new website.
Really cool. I like it.
Very cool.
I like
Okay,
it.
so with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make
Second.
Can I make a request
Yes.
Yes.
before we close out, or whatever way you see fit? Can we pray out for Shiloh Moore?
Oh, you know what else?
Yeah.
We probably need to have a little prayer for Val too. He's having a
That's
battle with cancer.
Oh, geez. There
Just
it
to
is.
let you guys know. So yeah. So if you want to lead, go ahead, Darlene. You can lead it.
No,
No?
no. I just made the suggestion.
Hey, you know how I operate. You suggest, you get it.
We got Val too, so, uh-oh.
Okay, I'm a pastor, so why don't I lead it?
Pastor, take it.
All right, I
There you
will.
go.
Let's pray. Let's
Pastor.
pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for our community. Lord, we want peace and justice in our neighborhoods. Lord, we pray for safety for first responders and all those that are affected by this coronavirus. Lord, we especially lift up Shiloh and Vale to you, Lord. You know their needs, Lord. You're the great physician, Lord. We pray that you would use your mighty power through medicine also to heal them, Lord, and restore them to full health and strength again. Thank you for this meeting, Lord. Thank you for all the people that put some effort into making this happen, Lord. And Lord, help us to be instruments for good in our community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 All right. With that, I think we will adjourn.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay well, everyone.
Bye, Heather.
Bye,
Thanks.
everybody. Be safe.